I'm so glad to see you all tonight. Welcome to our Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the first order of business being the ordering and approval of the agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please?
I so move.
Thank you so much. May I have a second? Thank you so much, Sally. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. First up is our staff recognition, and Laura Batson, you're up.
You know, this is one that I'm so excited to do, and this is my favorite part, I think, every month. But Brenda Weaver was one of the first people I met coming on in the summer and just made my whole day. She's one of the friendliest Phoenix family members we have and is so welcoming. So I would like to congratulate and say thank you to Brenda Weaver and shine this spotlight on her outstanding work for our students, for our staff, for our district. This is Brenda's first year as kitchen manager at the high school, and she has transitioned into this role with professionalism and confidence and a great sense of humor. And so she has quickly become a respected leader within her building. She runs a fun team. And sometime when we're not in an open meeting, I will have to tell you about my first meeting with her staff.
Well, that one was not my staff.
Well, she was in the kitchen.
That was somebody else's staff.
But anyway, that will not happen tonight. Brenda takes the time to get to know the high school students, works hard to create a welcoming, comfortable environment when they come through the kitchen. Her positive presence makes a meaningful difference in their daily experience, and the kids and staff love her. All you have to do is walk in that cafeteria and fill it. So Brenda does an excellent job managing the paperwork, keeping her team organized and on track, which is, God bless her, on that, and ensuring that proper protocols are consistently followed. Her attention to detail and commitment to doing things the right way contribute greatly to the success of the program. We are very fortunate to have Brenda in this leadership role. Charla can't say enough amazing things about Brenda, and I wholeheartedly second. So please join me in congratulating and saying thank you to one that definitely makes us feel proud, Miss Brenda Weaver. And then is Lindsay up here? Now you have to come join. We have to do the family photo. You get, yep.
Okay, thank you.
And I love how Stephanie tried. I don't know what you're thinking. You're so funny. And Sally, good job.
Everybody, I'm just getting here. It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Love you, girl.
Absolutely.
Next up is our annual financial audit. I'd invite April Swartz from Barney and Associates to come and present to us this evening.
Following the board.
Yeah.
Well, Lori should get an award too, because as usual, her stuff was in great shape this year. And she had a lot of challenges with the software transition. So even though it's a little later, once it was done correctly and everything went smoothly. It was a pleasure to meet Laura and your new COO and work with them as well. We did meet on a Zoom meeting on Friday and went over a preliminary epic. They want to know, what are you going to say when you get here? So they look like surprises. So I said, I'm very brief, so I'll stick to that. The letter that's loose is our required governance letter. Although we work with administration, we work for you, the board. And so during the year, if there's ever any questions, concerns, areas you feel like you want us to take a deeper look at, let us know. We're happy to do that. It's a clean letter. There were no adjustments required to make the financial statements correct. Everything, the numbers you see tonight are the numbers you would have seen at the end of the year.
So that's a good thing.
That's an excellent thing, yes. The actual report itself, starting on page 1, is our auditor's opinion. So you report under the KMAG model, which most schools in Kansas do. So if you go to the third paragraph, that's our clean or unmodified opinion. We feel your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. And there's a lot of other stuff in the letter, but it's all just lingo, auditor lingo, and lingo that relates to your federal portion of your audit. which I won't go into all of that. I will touch on the federal audit. Pages 4 and 5 are the actual financial statement of your district. Down the left-hand side are all the funds that are used to record the money that comes in and goes out in your district, including the component unit, which is your related municipal entity, which is your Atchison Recreation Commission, that gets picked up into your report. It saves them from having to have their own audit. So we don't look at their stuff in really close detail because they're not material compared to the district as a whole, but we do look at the cash balances in their ins and outs and how we went from last year to this year. So going down the right-hand side of the page, you'll see there are a few funds that ended in negative, but those are not violations. Those are federal funds, and federal funds are allowed to go into negative as long as you have a reimbursement coming. So no statutory violations, no cash violations, no budget violations. So clean report. You started the year there in that first column. You'll see you started with $43,500,000. You took in $36 million, almost $36.7. You expended $51,973,000, leaving you with a remaining unencumbered balance of $28,254,000. Over there to the right, you can see the bulk of your money is held in either checking or investment accounts in your local financial institution. Any questions? The next several pages are the notes to the financial statements, which I'm not going to read to you. But if you will turn to page 12. 12 is a summary of the debt of the district. Your district only has one outstanding bond, and that's your 2024 bond. You started the year owing $36,330,000. You made your required principal payment of $1,650,000 and your interest of $1,416,250, leaving you with a balance of $34,680,000. Then if you'll go to page 16, this starts one page for every fund. And so we're going to look at the general fund just to give you an overview of how they're laid out. You'll have an actual column. This will give you more information about the funds. On that first page, you only got one line, revenue expense. Back here, it gives you the detail of the revenue and the expense. So the main revenue in your general fund is state aid. As you can see there, $11,191,000. We show your budgeted amounts and then your variance over or under budget. The general fund in the school district is always spent down to zero, and you always expend exactly the amount that is budgeted. So that's why your budget variance is zero and your cash is zero. So then following that are all the other pages for every other fund that you have, which I will not read to you. And then finally on page 39, your district is large enough that you're required to have what's called a single audit or an audit under uniform guidance. The threshold did raise this year to $1 million, but you most likely will never be under that because your programs, you have a large program. The lunch program is one of them, special ed, you have a lot of different programs. You did have ESSER money included in this one. The ESSER money is all spent now. But if you look at page 43, I said 39, but if you go to 43, the total federal expenditures for your district were $3,093,986. Programs we tested this year were the ESSER and the special ed cluster, the IDEA cluster. We didn't pick on lunchroom, we usually get the lunchroom, but that'll be next year. But yeah, so that shows you how much was expended in each program, and we are required to test 40%. So we have to pick programs that will get us to that 40% threshold. The last page of the report, I would like to point out, about 2/3 of the way down, it says, did the auditee qualify as a low-risk auditee? And the answer is no. You will never be a low-risk auditee because you do KMAG statements. So that's not a bad thing, it's just the facts, and the only difference it makes is we have to test 40% instead of 20% if you were doing full gap financials. Any questions? It's about time to do it again. And then almost June.
So take a moment, because I know it's a lot, and it's been a while on there.
What can we actually do better as a district?
Well, one of the things we talked about when we were here is, now that you have another person, you can spread some of those duties a little bit. I do feel like you've always had good checks and balances in place, but one of the things is the outlying schools, the secretaries that do the activity funds and the class funds, I think there's going to be a little more oversight there, and we see this problem at every school we go to. You have secretaries doing that work who may or may not fully understand what they're doing, but it's very important that someone that does understand is at least looking at that stuff monthly. So I think you're developing a plan for that now that you have another person to help with that workload. But really everything else, you have good systems in place. And I think adding the COO will do nothing but make that better.
Just that stupid program, getting that over.
Oh, yeah, and we've had 2 schools that we did 5 years at one time. That's how far they were behind because of software changes. And having staff that really didn't understand it. But we just finished 2 different districts that were 5 years behind. So yours was just delayed, so it wasn't.
Now, when you're referring to software, you're referring to switch to Skyward?
Yes.
Or some other thing?
Yes, but that wasn't the only, like, different schools have switched to other things. Smaller schools have switched to a new thing this year. It's not Skyward, but it's been just as bad. The problem is the software people, they know software, but they don't know accounting. And they definitely don't know Kansas accounting. And so it's just a communication thing. So having solid people like Lori that understands, helps. A lot of districts didn't even know it wasn't right because they're used to hitting a button. And if they hit the button that says do a bank rec, yeah, we reconcile the banks, but what? Nothing matched, nothing balanced. And so then it just goes the next month and the next month and the next month. But you have enough people here that know what they're doing to recognize that it wasn't right to get it fixed.
Are a lot of the other districts evaluate using Skyward as well?
Yes, the larger ones.
Is it your opinion that works fairly well in terms of when you're going into audit? Does it give you the information you need easily, or?
Yes, depending on how they use it. So we had one district that really didn't use it quite right, and they were doing everything by journal entry. So they weren't using the source journals, like the receipts journal, the expenditure journal, they were journal entering everything. So we got access, so you gave us access as well. We get auditor access, so we can actually go in your system and we can look at whatever we want, which is a really good thing, because even though the auditor can't be part of your internal control, by having access to your system, to me, that would deter someone from trying to get away with something if they knew possibly someone would be looking. And so we do get access. Obviously, we can't change anything or do anything, but we can go and look. So yes, Skyward is good in that regard. I think Skyward's good. You can also upload all the documents within Skyward and have everything electronically within Skyward once you get that established.
Okay. Are there any penalties when
No. So your report is due within 12 months of your fiscal year. So you're really not late. You wouldn't be late until after June 30th. But no, there's no penalties. Those schools that were 5 years behind, I don't even think the state knew people were that marked because they were understaffed and they hired a new guy, Isaac, and Isaac's like sending all these letters. Another thing that happened is we took over a lot of schools from a firm in Kansas City. We took 18 in 1 year. And he would always file the report to the state for them. Well, our firm just never did that. Well, we didn't realize they didn't know that. They weren't filing. So a lot of the ones had their audit, they just didn't get filed. So we did change our process this year. And we actually file on behalf of the districts now. So we submit it, and then they send the filing fee billing to the district. And then we will also, now that you've approved it, we will also upload to the federal clearinghouse, and then Lori will go on and certify. And then that'll be the last that's required to be done. And that's not due until the end of March, so we're ahead of that deadline as well.
look at us, gifted.
Any other questions? Your program was just beautiful. I saw you pull her in, and I thought she's dressed fine. Beautiful. All right, well.
Thank you so
again,
much.
Questions, if you go home and read this, which I'm guessing can't be mine, reach out for questions,
Yeah.
because that's what we're here for.
She can tell her.
I don't know to answer the questions.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Lori, thank you very, very much for all your work and for all the misunderstandings. I'm so glad everything's cleared out and Skyward's working. That's what's making me very happy.
See you again. See you later. See ya.
I will, should I know? The question, Lori, and this may be something we have to follow up on. The question was, how many retirees do we currently employ? So, Felicia, will you record that question? Thank you. We can get back to you. We'll put that in the Wednesday update.
Yeah, don't hurry, I just wanted, do you want it there full-time or just subs? Well, I was just, because of the contribution
Are you
here.
thinking of retirees that qualify for papers? I would say is that the one you're referring to?
We pay a fee on five.
I'm fine. That's good.
I will double check that in the morning, and I think it's five.
Okay.
Sometimes it fluctuates depending on how much money they've made in the calendar year.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Lori and Demron, thank you for this overview you're about to give us. So thank you so much.
We're excited for like 3 hours of budget talk, right?
Yeah, hey.
For a long time now.
So yeah, I'm Director of Operations, Lori, our business manager. We're gonna talk through where we're at for 25-26 on our focus for this budget. And it falls into our strategic plan under communications, sharing where we're at financially with not only you as our board, but our community and everybody else as well. A little bit about what we want to cover. We're going to go through our budget process. We have some new board members, so I'm not sure if they're aware of what is that budget timeline and process, where we're at in it this year, talk about operating funds versus non-operating funds, get into what are our year-to-date expenditures and cash balances, and then what are we going to look for as we finish out this school year. So I'm going to ask, because a lot of this builds as we go, if you don't mind pulling questions to the very end, should we may inadvertently answer it in the next slide as we move through everything. So, thanks to Ms. Lori, we have a cool graphic here of what is our budget timeline. So we actually start looking at budgets in November every year. So in November, we start looking at projection enrollments. What are we thinking we're going to need staffing-wise, expenses, almost 2 years in. So we've already done that this year. Recently in March, we met with every department head, every principal. What are they at for this year's budget? What are they thinking for next year? So with some of that money, we can lead over year to year. Some of it we need to spend now. So we're starting to get ideas of what are they going to spend now? What can we cut? What do we need to look at as we move forward? Then in April, we get to see Lori and I again. And we're going to talk about what does 26, 27 look like? Where are we at with mill rates? And all the fun stuff starts over. As April through July, we spend a lot of time planning and prepping for the next year's budget. In June, the budget software is released from the State Department, and that's when Lori gets to have fun and watch herself in her office with all these fun spreadsheets. I don't have to hear it's a lot of work, it makes my head hurt, and she loves it. So she's going to be playing all kinds of different scenarios as we work through what is the best for our students and our team here. So that in July, we can start talking about revenue neutral, set up in early August, a work session where we can sit around the table and talk. You all as board members, us as the business team, what do we need to do to set the district up for success financially to go into the next year? Then in September, we set our revenue neutral rates, have our budget hearing after we've posted our initial budget. Then in mid-September, you guys vote and say, yes, you're good, I approve your budget. So we can upload it and send it to all the buildings and departments in October, just in time to start the whole process all over again. So it's kind of a year-round cycle as we talk budgets in the school district. It's also kind of unique in schools that we operate for 2, almost 3 months without a budget. So it's kind of a unique thing. That's why we're always looking at it. We don't get our budget until September when we start July 1. So kind of unique there.
I have no excuse on. Which is sort of fitting thing. I'm going to talk to you about operating versus non-operating funds. And the fund is determined by the type of expense. So the campus accounting handbook wants you to code expenses as a certain type of expenditure. So spend expenses, they want them coded to expend expenses, so the state can track them and use it for reporting purposes. Well, most of those funds, except for spend, does not get revenue directly deposited in there. It comes into our general and LOE fund, and that's where the budget starts with Form 150, how much we get per pupil, and the FTE, and all that money comes into the general and LOE. And then we, based on our expenditures, we'll look at our beginning cash balances, what we've expended to date, and then we'll transfer money each month or every few months, depending on the cash balance in that fund, to make up, so all of them balance. Does that make sense? It comes into our general and LOE fund, the revenue does, and the expenses are coded by type of fund, or by type of expense. Okay, non-operating fund. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to hit on a couple of them. Capital outlay, for example, that is a mill levy fund, and that is where we can have expenses related to building repair and maintenance, and our facilities and buildings and grounds staff, their salaries can also come out of there, and their fringe benefits. Driver's education, we haven't used this in a few years, but it does have a cash balance, so every time we pay for the program, we do have the cash in there to fund the program. Food service, on food service fund is unique in that we are self-sufficient. They have been an outstanding program since I came, and it's just taken off with it, offering all the different varieties and still maintaining a healthy cash balance in there. That's fantastic. On the right side, you'll notice all of our title funds. So if you're looking at the Kansas, the budget that I put together each year in that huge big book, code 7 is all the ones on the right, except for the very last one. It's all summed up into one code, but for auditing purposes, like Barney, we break it out by type of federal fund and by fiscal year, because you have carryovers. So that's why there's 6 different ones there, and all goes into one code 7 on the budget report. Okay. The last one is a revolving one. We have 10-month employees that have health insurance and dental premiums taken out with paychecks, but they don't get paychecks in summer months. So we take out a little more each month to cover it and hold it for them, and then we pay that on their behalf in summer months. So we don't have to go to them and say, we need X amount of dollars. We take it out on their behalf and pay on their behalf.
So exciting. What have we really spent so far this year? So in your guys' packets, probably easier to see that on the screen. This is a new report you guys are gonna start getting every month from us. What are expenses for that particular month that we're doing? So again, we're always in arrears in the business office, so you're gonna get Marches and April and kind of an ongoing system here. So what you'll see is a breakdown of every fund line. That first one that says budget allocation, that's how much that Lori has allocated for each fund for us to spend for the year. You'll notice that is lower than what's in the budget that you guys approved. As a board, you guys approved the budget authority, the most we can spend. We're not always gonna get that level. Outside of the MOE and the general fund, we haven't kind of come back a little bit, because we need that authority in case something happens. Capital outlay is a great example. Capital outlay, we budgeted with 7.4 million, but we're only gonna use 2.2 is what we're projecting right now. Reason being, storm comes through and rips the roof off the building, we need that authority to do repairs and replacements for that. If we only publish a 2.2 million and that happens, we have to go through this big, long rigmarole to republish our budget to get that authority to make those repairs. So that's why you'll see some of those variances. Like Lori mentioned, when you get down to the federal funds at the bottom, that's why you don't see a budget approved by you guys, because it's not broken out by each individual line, it's just one lump sum total. But then on our application, it's based on what we're authorized for the federal government for each of those lines. So as you can see, year to date, we spent about $23 million, which is about 60% of our budget, which right in line, we're 2/3 of the year, 60%, we're kind of right on track as we spend down. So then, we know what we spent, but how much cash do we have is kind of the next piece of the finances.
So this lists by funds, how much cash we have. It's the beginning of the fiscal year, so it's July 2025, as you match those in your audited books. And then revenue, this is through January, we have not posted February receipts yet, but the expenditures do include February. So just a reminder of that for pointing that out. And if you want to look at the ones with double asterisks, those are what we listed as our operating accounts, and you'll notice most of those are negative. Again, we haven't made the transfers yet. One, I wanted to kind of show you what that looked like, and in past for the Skyward transition, this was something I would give to the board each month as a report. Now that Skyward is ready to go, the numbers are concrete, we're confident in them, we'll start getting this report again monthly of how much I transferred to which fund from which fund. Okay, you'll, on the second part of that screen, you'll see the title ones. You'll see most of those are negative. Again, this is because we have to expend it before we can receive the money back, or we have to request it each month. Yes. You'll notice our capital outlay, it looks at 4.9 million, which is higher than it was at the beginning of the year. This is added per se, but we haven't made all of our expenses just yet. If you look at this next screen, you'll notice in capital outlay, we've always spent about 190,000. We had budgeted 2.2 million, and we're planning to spend a little over $1 million less in this quarter. Part of that is reallocating some of the expenses for facility and maintenance employees to your capital outlay, so we can fully spend our general and LOB and balance the budget. But that's why it's higher than what we have spent so far. There's also some additional projects that have not been finished yet, and I think Dave will be coming the next month or two to go over those and figure this out. But depending on when the expense hits, will determine whether this fiscal year or July and August. Usually in July and August, you'll see a higher cash expenditure in capital outlay because of that. It's a timing issue.
Again, these are estimated numbers. I think it's kind of interesting. Lori and I both came at this from different angles, ran our version of the projections, and we're within about $10,000 of each other. All from the same data we're pulling from Skyward, so now we both feel very confident. One after Marty and Associates saying we're in a good spot, and then we both ran our projections for the end. They are completely separate and come together within 10,000 on a $40 million budget. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a really good shape to close out the budget, not have to dip into contingency. We are dipping into capital outlay cash reserve a little bit by moving those salaries from the general fund to the capital outlay, which we are legally allowed to do. But it's something at a purpose where we'd like to keep as much salary in the general fund as possible. Questions?
Is that the first year?
No, ma'am. We did it last year as well.
I knew it became available, it wasn't always, right?
We passed a resolution, I believe 2012 was when they approved that, don't quote around the year, but it's been about 10 years ago that they let us do that, and we did. It's also when we passed something to go up to 5 mils. It was all at the same time.
On the special ed outlay and the at-risk ones that are the ones with really significant negative balances, is there more revenue expected in from state or federal on those, or how does that?
And special education, yes, we get reimbursements from the state, and then we also get about $600,000 in federal funds in there. So that comes through usually towards the end of the year, when we'll start getting about 100,000 a month in there.
We get 5 payments for SPED. You get this October, December, March, April, and May for your 5 SPED payments for categorically.
Yeah. And then we have the federal funds, and then we will transfer money from the general fund in there.
Okay,
So
yeah,
what we did.
Yeah, I was talking about transferring just from what we're using outside.
For all 3 of those funds, said.
And that's typical in most districts. You're gonna see your SPED does have a huge transfer at the end of the year because they're only funding SPED at about 40% right now across the state because of the way the SPED funding formula works. And they are looking at trying to change that in future years.
And the state is supposed to fund at 90%.
Correct. Yeah.
Is there an easy explanation for why they're not funding that?
Part of it has to do with the money that's allocated. So when SPED breaks down, and again, I'm gonna give you, this is a very high level overview. It comes down and has to be broken into different categories. So you immediately take Medicare off. SPED transportation comes off this big pot of money that comes from the federal government for SPED. Your SPED transportation costs keep going up year after year after year. There's an allocation for Medicare as well that has to come out of 5 million, and then you're left with this pot of money. That pot of money is what funds special education for the state of Kansas. So it keeps shrinking, but the number of FTE that we have to provide in special education because services are going up across the state means that pot of money is being split over more people, so the dollar amount is shrinking. So when I started doing this about 15 years ago, we were getting about $32,000 in reimbursement from a SPED categorical aid for FTE. We're down to $29,500, and it's projected to go down to $28,000 next year.
Those costs keep going up.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Other questions if we get all the answer?
On our food service, I've always wanted to know this. You know, we have a budget for our food service, and in the past, there was no, everybody eats free. And now they do that.
Yes.
Now, how does that, I mean, as we budgeted, did we find that we had a little more because of that? Like we had, before they said they were gonna do it.
Before it was free.
Right. And we budgeted. And then they came in and said, everybody's free.
Are you talking about free as part of the CPE grant or free during the COVID times when the federal government?
Know what they're doing now. Well, both. I mean, it was the
Different
same.
rules, so.
Right, but now, when they came back.
Rate is not what we're going to pay for an
It's
hour.
a different
So
amount.
it's a smaller amount
Now,
Yes.
okay, that's what I wondered, how
Per
that was
person.
affecting
per
us.
student, yes. But we also, we also have the cash balance in there to cover at least 3 months of operating expenses, and we knew that some of our equipment was getting older, so she's able to start replacing some of that now, and still maintaining a very healthy cash balance, which is impressive.
Do you think they're gonna fund that again next year?
It's going to be extremely close.
Okay,
ages ago. We're hoping
Yeah.
with all of our money.
April 1 is the magic date.
We tried really hard to get that for
okay,
10 years.
right,
And finally was able to get it, so we're pretty much ready.
open, okay.
Is this federal funding or state funding that you're talking about? Because I thought the lunch program was under federal.
It's a
It
yes.
is, but it trickles down.
States that pass through.
Yeah.
It's after state, but it is federal.
But if we do qualify this year, we'll qualify us for up to 4 years, so.
Good.
It's one of those kind of nice pieces, of it, and it help our district for a couple of years.
That should be next year.
Yes.
Other questions or concerns?
One of the things, though, that as you're watching, just for your own knowledge on legislation, you know, because that was one of the requests that came in, it's just that information and knowledge. So if, as the federal approves this, as long as we keep our percentage of students who qualify, so our district qualifies, in there, is looking for things like the legislation has put forward of having 100% accountability. Right now, we are required to do a 3% accountability. That gap of that 97% accountability could easily be 2 to 3 people's full-time jobs, right? And you can imagine the cost and the administrative oversight and that goes with that. And that takes money out of the general fund, that takes money out of classrooms, that takes money out of opportunities, that takes money out of programs that we want for our students and staff to do this. So when we're thinking and we're talking to legislators and not telling you one way or the other on which way to go, but just being informed that that could definitely affect your public school budgets on how we make decisions to use staff.
What is that accountability?
Accountability right now, when Charla is working on this, she has to prove that at least 3% of people who say we fall in this income bracket do. And so she randomly has to get income verification data on 3% of our student population's families. To get 100%, as you could imagine, get 100% reply on anything is very difficult on that. So,
Yeah, essentially the cost of it to get 100%.
well,
You just gotta get in the car and go. I mean, that's a true story. We had to in the past, you know, we do all the time. You just meet them at the front door, you meet them at Willie's, you meet them at their house, wherever you can get it. Here's a clipboard, could you fill this out? It's, so, yeah.
so that, you know, those are the type of things as you're thinking and you're talking about reform, which I'm not against reform and I'm definitely not against accountability. We should be accountable for what we're doing with our funds in there. But that is, you know, that is money that's coming from somewhere. Someone has to do that job. Some people are going to have to do that job.
Yes.
So, all right. Lori and Dimmer, as I said, will be back. These financial updates every month, I feel have been informative. It's kept me. So we will continue these. Lori, I know, is super excited about that.
It's right.
And so I definitely want to say my gratitude and my support for Lori. She has been working her tail and her fingers off this year, getting us to be at this point right here. And I'm thankful for her. I'm thankful for the partnership of her and Dimron. They've worked very well together. And they have their own little secret language of finance things that I don't understand. So, but it's positive, great news for our district. And that I'm excited about. So, thank you, Lori. Thank you, Dimron.
Very, very much. Thank you. Was there any comments? Okay. So we're gonna skip right down to,
Well, I want to bring up, we do have Sit Tuesday tomorrow for staff. All right? So last month, remember, we didn't have one for staff because of parent-teacher conferences, but we had one for community. This month, community members, feel free to call me. I'll be happy to meet you anywhere, but we don't have a formal one for community members because of spring break. But we do have one for staff tomorrow afternoon.
Perfect. Okay, we're gonna go to the approval of the consent agenda, and I'd entertain a motion for that as presented, please.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, as presented. May I have a second? Thank you, Brandy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. It does pass unanimously. Thank you so much. Next, our action items is to approve the school calendar, and this is the second read. I'll let you visit about that.
So this is actually for the 27-28 school year. Last month, you approved the changes to the 26-27. So if there are no questions, this is what was presented.
And we do need to take action on this today. So we would just need a motion to approve the 27-28 school calendar draft as presented.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and second, Sally. Any discussion? You're okay, honey?
Third.
Okay, I like it. You go, girl. Third. Any discussion on any of that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. Then we need to approve formally the district's financial audit ending in June 30th, 2025. So if someone, I think you had somebody read that, right? Or no?
I put an example motion in there for you,
Okay.
unless you have additional questions for Lori. It would be administration's recommendation to approve it as presented.
And Madam President, I move to approve the district's financial audit ending June 30th, 2025 as presented.
In a second. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any discussion on that? And I just want to say again in the discussion, thank you for the thoroughness. Thank you for everything and helping the misunderstanding come together, because that was clear as glass. So thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. Next is the NRP, which is the Neighborhood Revitalization Plan. I think Stephanie, myself have been to the meetings. I don't know if anybody else, but we do need to make a delegate. So I don't care if Stephanie's the one, I'm gonna go, and Stephanie's gonna go, so would you wanna be the voting member? I'd appreciate that.
I think there's several of you that have indicated, just so I know, so I can report to Casey.
Oh, yeah, if anybody else is going
How
to that.
many of you are going to the meeting? Janet is, so I can let her know. It's Monday,
Next Monday.
Does there need to be a quorum?
No, there doesn't have to be, as long as we're doing an open meeting, that we have a delegate.
Yeah.
So Janet, Stephanie, Carrie,
Mhm.
all right. Anyone else that wants to go or just show up, they can.
But just tell me so we can report, we're gonna have more than 3.
So we'll put it on our website.
Okay.
This will be on our website anyway, so we've given prior notice that you all will be there representing the district. But then whoever, and then Carrie, just I'll let you go ahead and.
Okay, so I'll just make the nomination myself, if that's okay. I nominate Stephanie Gardner to be our representative delegate to vote on behalf of USD 409 at the March 16th meeting. And may I have a second, please? Thank you so much. And any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much.
And I will communicate that to Casey Quinn, so she'll know. All
And the
right.
city to Mark, whatever his name is, Mark, our new guy. Okay, next is our strategic plan metrics. Is that
Yes.
correct?
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
We recently had a work session where we discussed our strategic plan, and as a board, I want to thank you for identifying some priority action steps for us. So what we've done is kind of gone through and looked at the year and identified for lack of a better word, a cadence or a cycle of some reports. out. Some of them are mandated by statute, like our legislative needs assessment, budget workshops, those type of things. Others are ones that we have put in. For example, normal building reports, we know the FBLA, CTE, and then some are identified by the priority action reports. And so I've given you at each of your spaces an overview of the year. And this will be attached on our website for those that would like to see it. And what I would like to propose is please look over this, provide any feedback of things that you think I've left out, things that you would like to see an increase of or decrease of, or any feedback. With the goal being starting in August or July 1, so to speak, as we start this cadence of there. It is a living document. It will change as the needs of our districts change. As we meet our goals and complete action steps where they become just the standard way we do business here in our Phoenix family, we will add additional action steps that will join us in our cycle and cadence of reporting. All right. So please feel free to take this with you, make notes all over it. You can snap a picture of it and text it to me. You can call and we'll discuss it. I'm open to questions right now if anything has kind of popped in your head on this.
I actually had a question on the overview of instructional materials for the upcoming year, doing that in July. Would that make more sense to have that in like March, April, May, so that we can discuss if there are things for changing of academic year or the scheduling, rather than July right before the start? It seems like it would be hard to implement any change.
Yep. We thought July because that's when we'd be rolling. That for sure would be this is what we come. Anytime we do any type of adoption, it has to come to you for approval anyway. So it's not like we would be bringing something that is new to you that's on that list, but we can definitely move this at any point. So March, you think?
Yeah, I was just curious as to if it would make more sense if that's something like that.
No, I'm happy to. So if you would look over this, I love feedback like that. Before I publish it fully on the website as kind of our dashboard of a lack of word, because what will happen is after people make these reports, then each of these for that year will become a hyperdoc link with a presentation embedded in. So anybody in our community can look and click on our legislative needs assessment. So they'll be able to find it easily. Anyone will be able to see our budget workshop presentation. Anyone will be able to see our human resources overview, okay, on there. So, if you wouldn't mind sharing any feedback you have on that, and I will remind you of that in your Wednesday update that you'll get.
One other
Sure.
question. So I noticed in January we've got a first semester behavior overview. Is there I didn't notice a second semester.
Okay, add that one in there. That's a good catch.
Any other feedback, or do you want to take your time, take it home, look at it, and definitely get back with Laura for sure? If it's okay, we'll move on to the first executive session to discuss student information.
Yep.
Is the first one just for students?
It's students.
Yes.
Madam President, I move that the board go into executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student. And we will have 20 minutes.
Okay.
So we will come back at 7:05.
7:05. May I have a second for that, please?
You need to.
And I need to
Oh, I'm sorry.
Demerin, Montgomery, Nicole, Honeywell, and Laura Batson.
Okay, perfect. May I have a second, please? Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand, and we will see you back here at 7:05. It does pass unanimously.
That's what you call a good no call.
Enter into, yes.
Okay. Madam President, I move that the board recess into an executive session to discuss the following subjects negotiations. The justification for this executive session is to discuss employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with representative or representatives of the body or agency pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under KONA. The open meeting will resume in the BOE community room at, it says 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Let's go. It's 7:24. Well, it's 15 minutes, so 7:25.
7:25, okay, it's 7:25, and I would like to invite Demerin, Montgomery, and Laura Batson.
And may I have a second on that? Thank you so much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. We'll be back out here 7:25.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chowder?
Madam President, I move that the board go into executive session to discuss employment recommendations and individual employees' employment performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exemption under KOMA. Requesting that Demerin, Montgomery, Nicole Honeywell, and Laura Batson attend this, and that we reconvene in 30 minutes, which would be 7:55.
55, yes. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in, any discussion? Any, seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Say coffee. Had too much coffee. For your patience. The personnel action as presented, could somebody make a motion to accept that? It's just the personnel action as presented. Number 10-1. That's okay.
I move to accept the personnel action as presented.
Thank you so much. May I have a second on that? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Whoa.
Any discussion? Okay.
Yeah, we,
Are we doing all of those even though we didn't have discussion on those?
Yeah, that's how we do every,
We can absolutely return back into executive session for staffing, if you'd like to return to the
Yeah.
staffing report, 100%.
Yep.
But we need to go into executive session if you want to discuss people on the personnel report, which is totally okay.
yeah, I feel like we didn't fully discuss all of the,
Absolutely, so,
okay. Let's go back into executive session. Would somebody read that?
We don't have to do the one
no, and we are going to return back to executive session, so, someone will need to
Read
make that
last.
motion.
That one I
move that we return back to executive session, with the same,
To discuss
inviting, to discuss the personnel matters.
Hold on one sec. You have to vote on your motion that's already on the floor.
So
It's
it'll-
been seconded. It's to deny it.
It's
And then do
denied.
it.
Denied, okay.
No, I apologize.
That did not pass, so let's we want to go back and enter into executive session, and I need somebody to read.
You need to
You have a motion and a second, of course, you have to do a vote saying
Oh,
aye to go back in.
Okay, all in favor say aye. All did not, all opposed, raise your right hand, so it's opposed.
Now
Didn't
you can
pass.
executive session.
So then I need the suggested motion.
So, Madam President, I move the board return to executive session to discuss employment recommendations and individual employees' employment performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exemption under KOMA. And that meeting will resume at 8:22, I guess.
Okay, 8:22. All in, any discussion? No, I need a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. We'll go back to the boardroom. I'll bring this with.
Oh my lord, you're joking. 10 minutes, that's all we need.
10 minutes, so,
I know.
8:32.
Thank you.
All those, yeah. Second, all in favor?
Are you eyeing Brandy?
I'm calling it.
I'm getting candy, Doug.
And I would entertain a motion, please, on the personnel action.
Okay, the first motion, Madam President, move we appoint Demerin Montgomery as our board clerk.
Thank you so much. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. Next is our personnel action.
I move that we approve the personnel action as amended.
Thank you so much for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. Before we adjourn, I would like to say good luck to our boys basketball team. And I'm very, very, gonna be their #1 cheerleader from afar, because all the kids will be at my school. And Boys and Girls Club, and yeah, I'll be cheering on my way. So somebody keep me posted, because I won't be able to watch it either, so shoot me a text. Yeah, I just will be too busy. Anything else? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Thank you. May I have a second?
It's,
Oh, it's not us.
it's not us, it's Keisha.
Keisha.
We,
Oh, wait. Okay, we do have a motion and a second to adjourn. I'd entertain everybody. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.